Welcome back to another episode of Searching for MacGuffin with your hosts,
George.
Gabe.
And Link. This is Socrates from Tennessee.
I thought it was. I thought you were like actually.
You convinced me.
Yeah, that was a good.
I practice that routinely when I'm driving around for work. I'll just say, and Link.
You know that like, that'll pop into my head. You know, it's
Yeah,
just a
it does.
catchphrase now.
It really does.
Yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to put it on.
A t-shirt or anything,
Yeah,
or
on a
a mug.
Yeah, before we should still do
We
it.
should still.
We
can
should
still.
market
We can
it
get
and
money.
and then just don't cut him a check.
Where? Because I don't know where he is.
Yeah, he's somewhere like in the jungles of Colombia, as we mentioned, right? Or yeah, maybe he's not even there now during the holidays.
They probably moved him.
Yeah, he's probably visiting family somewhere. Like,
Oh,
Oh, he's talking
So
about
the-
moving them
the-
camps.
oh,
the kidnappers
Right.
let him visit his family.
he's kidnapped. I thought he voluntarily. We got to get the story straight.
I don't think you ever really know.
I'm not really sure. Okay, so I guess it isn't Link, which is good because I thought you had aged dramatically in the last couple of times that we saw you, Link, but you're Sock, so you actually look exactly as you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the appropriate age. What brings you into town?
I wanted to try iguana hunting with my sons, and we're also here for Nochebuena.
You mentioned iguana hunting. This is a subculture I was not aware of. Did you know this was a thing, Gabe?
No,
Yeah. So this was the first I heard of you.
I knew like crabs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've heard of that and stuff, but not ever iguanas.
Yeah, could you explain a little bit like what that's like?
So iguanas are an invasive species down here in South Florida, and there's basically an open season on them year-round. And there's different ways to trap them, catch them, and then there's different ways to eat the iguanas as well, preferably the tail, maybe their legs.
You did not mention that the first time.
It was definitely part of the plan,
Oh.
right? Catch iguanas, kill the iguanas, and then kind of barbecue the iguanas.
And how do you catch them exactly?
We had an air rifle with us, which was very interesting to walk around neighborhoods and canals here in South Florida with an air rifle. It looks very much so like a hunting rifle. And you
Just
can
another-
shoot them.
So it's just like kids in the woods with like guns?
Kids in the woods with guns.
It's another
or
Tuesday in Florida.
In
What
the
do you
South, in the South Florida environment, like a canal side, So all the backyards are open because the right of way for the canals, right? The people used to have their fences all the way up to the canal. The water management company has cleared all that. You'll have a lot of those fences now opened up to people's yards, so they're looking right at you.
Yeah, I think
as
they
you're
just passed
aiming.
I mean, I don't know if the bill passed. They didn't pass the hunting bill, right? Or did they, Gabe? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Oh, you didn't vote in the last election, or
No, there's three main ones that I was like, yeah, and then the rest
okay? Because I gotta look it up to see if it passed. But I remember it was like basically to protect the rights of hunters, so they could go into your yards. And
Oh,
like-
that's what that was?
yeah, that was
For
so-
the invasive species.
I think it was for all hunting.
Oh,
It was
wow,
like
all
hunting and
hunting.
fishing, yeah. So,
Okay.
but so if they go into your yards, they can just jump in there and after it. Like that is not sanctuary for the animals. But
So you voted no for that?
I think so.
No
yeah.
hunter rights.
Yeah,
Definitely
'cause I
get
don't-
on private property. That's
yeah,
your property, right?
Yeah, that's what. I
Yeah,
voted
for them
no.
to shoot an animal and
But-
then, oh no, sorry,
It's-
we shot your kid.
It's true what you said though. It was worded in a way that like you had to do the research to really understand. Was because it sounded like something that you're
Because
like,
I think it was just another term that they used, and then I was just like,
they were just like protecting hunters' rights, but like they didn't outline what those hunter rights were, and they were just basically completely foregoing like your private property.
then honestly, I might have said yes if I didn't know they were going to private
Oh,
property.
well,
I might
thanks.
have voted
You might be part of the problem.
That's a super side track.
Yeah.
So let's get back on topic.
Well, what is the topic?
The topic is action figures, which is a hobby that my sons and I share.
When you're not hunting iguanas.
That's right. When we're not hunting, we're not fishing, when we're not in Chattanooga, my boys have gotten into action figure collecting, and they pulled me into it in a big way. And we'll have each like grail type things that we're searching for, or lines that we want, or characters that we want, and then we're always going back and forth on who has the best action figure collection. And it's a very nice hobby to share with my two boys.
That was really the order of operation. They got into it and they drew you into it.
No, I had as a
I had my
yeah.
doubts.
Yeah, as a fan of comic books and stuff like that, they're usually stored in boxes, so you're not seeing it. So you want a visual representation of that collection, and the best way to do that is with action figures, posters, statues, and whatnot. And the cheapest way is really a couple action figures. And I had that, but not in a very large way like some collections or some people will focus specifically on the action figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I always had a little bit of that, and the boys, grew up looking at that shelf and be like, "Oh, those are so cool." And then finally they got into it, and now it's blossomed into a hobby all three of us share and enjoy. And then, oh, I have this guy, and I'll trade you that guy, and then no, that guy sucks, Dad, because he has no articulation. Whatever it is, the thing is that I try and get them to like look at the details, look at the pricing. There's other hidden things like getting the boys into magic, which is like a subversive way to get them into simple math, complex math, just off the cards itself. This is like a backdoor to a lot of different things.
like
Magic the
Gathering.
Magic
Yeah.
the Gathering, that's right.
Oh, that's really interesting. You mentioned
smooth way to incept your children to
I
liking
know,
the
right?
things that you like.
and learning apparently
And learning, there always has to be a base of learning because you're spending so much time with these hobbies and things like that there has to be a benefit other than, oh, this action
Something
figure, this
productive,
comic,
yeah.
etc. This
I mean,
whatever it is.
it's true because I think a lot of my literacy came from
Right.
constantly reading.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
And it's something that I push, like, even in the classroom, like, grab a comic book, grab a,
Right.
eventually you'll like graduate and to something else, but whatever gets you hooked. And it's like, it's true. You create narratives and stories. It's like what this show is about,
Right.
about narrative and story. And you do that when you create those stories, when you're even playing as a small child with those toys.
100%. So last time I was here, I had mentioned that there was a period of my childhood where I did not have a television set, right? So I had to specifically focus on the comics and the novels, the Star Wars novels and whatnot. But I also had action figures, and the action figures would be a lot of play. And being an adult now and seeing the way my son, especially the little one, plays, it is like a whole entire world that opens up to him with just 2 or 3 little toys, and he's on the carpet, and all of a sudden they're in a swamp or they're in the desert, and there's camels, whatever it is he's making up. The play is super important just because it opens up that imagination, that thinking outside the box, and not just sitting in front of a screen all day.
Yeah.
Kind of just doing what the AI wants you to do, click on what the AI wants you to click on.
Yes, it's one thing to have these stories fed to you and to
Right.
like have them wash over you, which is it's nice to experience a story being told to you, but to actually engage in creating that narrative is so much stronger. And I also think that one thing that I learned when I was growing up with toys is to appreciate the resources and use all the resources at your disposal. Because at least when I was a kid, it was like you mentioned a camel. Like if I have a camel, I got like a camel toy at a birthday party and like a grab bag. Well,
Right.
great. Now I have some scenery. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what crappy toy
Yeah,
you
there's
got.
props and
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
got-
there's a new character. You can add this to a new setting. There's always something that you could add on to it. I think what you were saying before about there has to be a point. There has to be something to benefit, something productive that you get out of, because it's true. You're spending a lot of time with that, and I really do appreciate that. And I'm just like, man, thinking about it, I'm like, you're right. That is a long time that you're thinking about. Like when I was growing up, I was using some of these stories that I would watch, and then maybe like go like after I'd watch something, go make tweaks of myself. Like sometimes some of the stories I'd see, I'd have the characters or toys, or I'd just make it up, and then like do something differently that I saw that I didn't necessarily like, and then
Right.
change it up. After that, then you build. It's almost like an extended universe. You build your own type of. You create this whole other world, and then for me, a lot of the base was the things that I would watch on television, or in the movies that we'd see. So it was just that part that when you mentioned that, I was like, man, that's responsible parenting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Obviously we still collect stuff. You see figures all in the background and there's toys and everything. But I think collecting has changed when we did it. At least I was growing up. We were growing up in the 90s. You're probably
Early 2000s.
early 2000s you were, collecting. What has changed? Like what was it like then and what is different now that you're going through that experience for a second time, like with the next generation?
So there is maybe less play there. At least the boys, they realize there's some figures you can play with. The wrestlers are free game, so they'll get a Roman Reigns and they'll grab a Rock and they'll smash them together completely, and then they'll get maybe, like, for example, we each went crazy and ordered the HasLab Sentinel. I've wanted a Sentinel since I was a kid, and I was definitely gonna get one.
And these are like great excuses to get the things that you never got.
Right,
Right. You're like,
right.
boys, you want a Sentinel, right?
I have money now.
So we wanted to get the Sentinel, and that is gonna be clearly something that is for quote unquote display. The little one probably play with his or play with mine. I'll let him do that. But my eldest son, his collection is a lot different. It is just for display. He likes buying these certain type of figures, and he wants these certain type of characters. Then he'll buy the little base to then have the figure flying or using his powers and stuff like that. And it really is just a display for him. He has comic books in the background of the figures to make the figures pop. It looks very impressive.
I'm gonna need you to have to send me some photos of that because I would love to see what that's like.
But then he'll play with my little son's action figures. Right? He still likes to play.
So he gets the best of both worlds. He gets to be a collector, but then he has a sibling that he can just
do it. Yeah,
smart.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I think you said affordable. Like that. It was a cheap way to kind of have the characters come to life when we were growing up.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Not so much
Some
anymore.
of those figures are quite pricey.
Well, the HasLab Sentinel was over $100, which, in my opinion, I'm not really going to be paying that type of price for just an action figure. I made the exception just because I've wanted it. The boys were super enthusiastic about it, and then we had turned the day into a joke. The last day to order the Sentinel was my wife's birthday. And we were making fun that, oh, it's not your birthday, it's Sentinel Day. And we're gonna make a cake for Sentinel Day, etc. It was very funny. So we got into that. But usually, like, the price point is $5-6 for me, and I'm buying them, on the back market, in garage sales or whatever. We're actually going up to Ohio for I think the largest toy convention in America. 7 buildings and whatnot.
Wow.
And I had taken the boys to a toy convention in Chattanooga. And there, for the first time, they actually haggled for action figure, back market stuff.
Proud moment.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome to see the boy be like, well, the dealer knew that the boy did not want to buy it at the price point, and then initiated the haggling. He's like, well, what do you want to pay? And he's like, 18. The guy was like 17. I was like 12. Okay. I didn't want to go. And that is another skill, especially if you're going to like the conventions where you have the type of dealers there that are willing to, negotiate, etc. And it's all cash, and there you're building this
because nobody's paying taxes on it.
Nobody's paying taxes on it or whatever it is, but you can't do that in a Target. You have to pay whatever they're selling it at. Here,
maybe in like Little Havana, maybe, but I don't know. I haven't shopped.
Building negotiation skill that a lot of kids do.
Yeah, I think you're a little far from the mic.
I'm a little far. So I got to get closer. I got you.
Maybe just angle it.
So,
did you ever go to the little like a market in like Town and Country Center?
Yes,
here,
I went with you a couple times.
I think we went together, course, right? Yes.
And there you can buy the cards or make a deal, and they also had action figures there as well.
Yeah, I remember that was like the greatest thing of my life, and it was like. You're talking 7 buildings, right? The world's largest.
Buildings. Yeah.
And I'm like the hallway at the Town and Country Center
was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was like It was like going to Disneyland.
Right.
And it's amazing how big these markets have gotten and how
just
you were rattling off when we were prepping for this episode some like brands of like popular lines. What are some of those like toy lines?
To me, it's all about Toy Biz in terms of superheroes, especially Marvel superheroes. I love those.
Is that what they're really big
X-Men,
into?
Spider-Man. No, they're into I guess Marvel Legends is the latest and greatest, and that's by Hasbro, who also does G.I. Joe. But to talk about brands that like got me started,
really quick, I forgot to ask you about the Sentinel thing. Do any of your X-Men toys feel like betrayed that you're introducing that now into your home? Like, are they fearing for their lives?
No. Okay. They want to fight the Sentinels.
Oh, I see. To eradicate. Because the Sentinels are somewhere, right?
Right.
So bringing them here is just a chance for them to destroy.
Right.
Okay. So you were mentioning, you said Marvel Legends by Hasbro.
Kenner was a big brand at one point too.
Kenner was what I grew up with.
Star Wars
they still make the Star Wars.
Yes.
I feel like they've been doing it since like the 70s.
Sure.
Yeah, because I know the old ones that I grew up like seeing in magazines, and then when they re-released the original movies, like on VHS with THX remastered.
Power of the Force.
Yeah, they brought back like that original line, but remade. The figures look much better.
Yeah,
obviously.
Like a roided out Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly the one from the cover of the poster. And I remember, I think you remember, right? That I had them all behind glass in my house, and like we would bring them down to play with them.
You're right.
But when playtime was over, they go right back on display.
That's right.
And that was one Christmas that I got that entire like first line and the Millennium Falcon. And I think to this day, I mean, I'm a 40-year-old man, and like that's probably one of the best Christmases that I've ever had. And it started the like tradition, like we watch Star Wars almost every Christmas, like every year, like for the rest of my life because of that. But yeah, that Kenner brand really big, at least with me.
For sure.
Yeah,
I'm rebuying that first wave. I'm just missing, I think the R2 right now, but I just wanted them.
I've been tempted to do that, but I'm like, I really don't have a reason to. I don't know if you know what happened to my Kenner line.
No, I don't.
You don't know the story?
I gave them all to my kids. So I had them at one point, maybe 40 of those characters in a box, and the boys played with them.
Okay,
and they added to it.
We'll strap in because I'm going to try to tell you the story in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so we have a mutual friend, right? His name's Igor.
Oh, Igor.
Yeah. And we had a play date set up. He was going to come over. We were going to play some video games. We were going to play with some
This is like middle school era? Or?
I think it was a little because you were with us in middle school.
Right.
So we're maybe it's like you were gone for 8th, right?
Yes.
So maybe between 8th and 9th,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Maybe the summer of, right? And he comes over, and we are all amped up. Like we're gonna whole day together. It's gonna be like 12 hours of nonstop, whatever we want to do.
Igor's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Well, wait till the end of the story. So Igor comes in. We're like, yes, this is it. This is our day. You're here for like 16 hours. This is gonna be the best. My sister walks in, jumps on my rolling chair that I was sitting on.
Yeah.
Pushes me into that glass display.
Okay, I know
the Star Wars toys. Oh, you do? Yeah. And then like the glass falls on my arm, cuts me. I end up in the emergency room. Igor ends up alone in my house for the next 15 hours. He was only there for about an hour, right? But what does he do? It was like the light was shining from the broken glass. The toys have now been released. And he took all of my Star Wars toys, took off all their capes, switched their lightsabers, maybe snapped one in half, one rolled under the bed. I come back, bandaged up.
Yeah.
My best friend is gone. I'm alone, and my collection is just decimated all over the floor. He didn't even pick them up.
Oh.
Yeah. And from that moment on, I vowed I was never going to buy another Star Wars.
Oh, I thought you were like, I'm never going to talk to this guy again.
No, that's probably what I should have done. So if you're out there, if somehow you listen to this piece of audio.
Oh, he's a big fan, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, well. I'm staring deadly into the camera if you're listening and not watching. Anyways, yeah. So that was the end of my Kenner line. And anytime I think about it now, it just brings trauma and horror.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You always have those little stories, I think, with friends, especially like how you're talking about like trading and going. I remember one time I had my best friend at the time, like when we were kids growing up, he came over and we both had, it was a Tarzan toy from the movie. And I had like the original, and then he had like a Fortnite skin type of camo skinned Tarzan. And we're just like, oh, do you want to trade? Like, do you want to trade? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I want that one. And I was like, yeah, mine, it's different from mine. And so then we start like just, we grabbed each other by the arms and we just start swinging because we're just so happy that we traded toys. We're like, yeah. And then like he slips and I let him go. And he like rolls onto the concrete and just like, I think he broke his arm. And I'm like, oh. And he got pissed. He's like, I'm not trading with you. Like, and then like they took him to the hospital. I'm pretty sure he did break his arm.
Oh my goodness.
From there. And then
toy collecting is dangerous.
That was crazy. It was crazy.
Especially for your wallet.
Yeah. Oh.
It's like we were up here, we had peaked, and then we just rock bottom.
What is like retail on these figures now?
Nowadays, like your standard Marvel Legends probably $25, which is crazy.
That is insane.
Yeah, I know.
Toys were like what, $5? If they were $8, they were pricey.
Yeah, for the Toy Biz stuff, definitely $5. So like the X-Men, the 90s X-Men comics that are the toy lines, you know, those were like $5-6 at the most.
Yeah.
and you got the figure and a couple accessories and a card. And
I would love the figures that came with like a piece of another figure, so that like if you got
oh yeah, the
5 of
figure,
them,
sure.
then you could build a 6th figure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or some of them had like switchable hands.
Yeah.
So like either hold a different weapon or.
Ironically, I walked into a store the other day and I saw literally like the toys that they used to sell when we were growing up. That exact same like X-Men line, but at like 5 times the price. Like, but I'm like, it can't cost that much more to make the same toys. But it was like they're like old school '90s style. I don't know if you've seen that. Like, I don't know the names.
Well, they've had like Street Sharks have been reissued and in the same packaging and whatnot, and Biker Mice from Mars, and then other classic, I guess, cartoons. And
where do they sell these?
I mostly online.
Yeah,
from what I remember, I think actually I seen some in Target, or it had to have been Walmart because I don't go to Target anymore.
Yeah,
but it had to have been in Walmart where they'll have like a niche type location.
Interesting,
right? They have like
because that is niche. Like I've talked to people about these shows
and stuff like that.
They don't know what I'm talking about.
Then they have like a second location for kind of collectibles, and that's where you'll find them. They're by the records or they're by something else.
Okay.
They're apart from the actual toy shelf.
You mentioned Street Sharks, Biker Mike from Mars. These were just attempts during our childhood to like
recapture Teenage
Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Yeah,
right.
Like kind of some
great tries, great swings for sure.
It's so interesting though, the difference in like, shopping on Amazon for a toy instead of walking through like, a toy store or the aisles of like a Walmart or the toy section in the Walmart. Or because I remember every time that we would go to a Kmart or a Walmart or anything like that, like or Target.
Kmart, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
rest in peace.
I beeline straight to the toy section.
It was okay to shop with your parents because there was a section for you, and my parents used to just leave me there. Like,
oh yeah, they were shopping for hours. Like I remember the
Sears.
Yeah. I remember the first time that happened. I got lost and like my mom got pissed at me. But then I think since then she knew like always to find me in the toy section.
Go straight for the toys of the game.
You got me into the Sears thing because of the Kenner Star Wars stuff.
Yes.
You told me. No, it was Service Merchandise.
That's
the place that had the Star Wars stuff.
That's right.
I couldn't find it in the KB Toys and whatnot. And they had a Service Merchandise. I forget what shopping center, but it was something that my parents liked going to because there was an Outback Steakhouse there.
I think it might have been International Mall.
Maybe. It was around there.
Yeah.
International Mall is also Midway Mall, which is now they changed the name of that place.
Which one?
It's called Midway something.
Crossings?
Midway Crossings. That's right. So that used to be Mall Americas, then Midway Mall, and now.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I don't know the Midway Mall part, but I've seen the. I went from Mall Americas to me. It went Mall Americas to I saw Midway Crossings. I saw that.
Wow.
I haven't been in there.
They had a KB toy store in there at one point.
Yeah, KB was my jam.
KB in Town and Country.
Right.
Toys R Us was amazing because it was grand and it was dedicated, right? I remember they had an opening here in Miami and Kendall that Toys R Us made. Also rest in peace, right? On
that was a staple, man.
And it was like a celebration. They had characters. Jeffrey the giraffe was there. He autographed my book.
There by Town and Country.
Yeah, there by Town and Country. It was. I'm telling you,
it was an event.
Going to the toy store was like going to Disney World, man. It was at least like going to Disneyland.
They had everything there, man. And it was a big Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And I remember every time like a Star Wars movie would come out, like when the prequels came out. Like it took over and they just had the giant Star Wars sign as soon as you walked in. Yeah. Like I remember when Revenge of the Sith came out, it was just Anakin and Obi-Wan just fighting, and then they had the lightsabers, they had the action figures, they had so many like blasters and things like that. Like it was the best place on earth.
Yeah.
For a kid.
I mean, yeah.
Well, okay, so that was the point that I was trying to make. KB Toys had a very special place in my heart because Toys R Us was a giant dedicated building just to toys. Your parents had to take you there. But KB, especially the one that I would go to, was in Town and Country Mall because my parents would go shop at Marshall's,
right.
or whatever it was called back then. Because I know it's been rebranded like 3 times. I don't even remember. My sister used to work there, but they would drop me off at KB, and it was like I got to go there whenever we needed to shop for clothes or just random stuff. So it was there along other markets. It was small enough that it could be yours. And I remember what I used to do is I used to just spend their hours just organizing all the figures. Like I'd go to the Star Wars section and I was like, all right, if someone's looking for a Luke, they should go to this row. And I would just be like, Luke.
The people that work, they're just like, who is this kid?
Yeah. And then I would go like, all right, Vader. So that when, if kids were looking for a figure, they would know if it was there or not. And like when they would remove it, the same one would be right behind it. And I would just marvel at all the toys.
You remember the last toy you bought at KB Toys?
The last toy?
Yeah, the last toy.
Like, are you asking me or do you know the answer to that?
No, I do not know.
Okay. I thought maybe
it would be a guess. I would hazard a guess at a Toy Biz action figure. I have no idea.
I don't know. What I do remember, the one haul that I remember was when WCW went out of business.
Okay.
I went to KB, Toys R Us. Actually, no, I do know what the last figures I bought at KB. Now I just remember. I went everywhere to buy the entire line of WCW because they were like $1 a pop.
Nice.
Because that's it. The company went out of business. They don't care what they make on the toys. And everything was like just in bins. And I bought every wrestler known to man. I do know I did the same thing at KB Toys when ECW went out of business.
Wow.
Which was a very niche line of toys because they were not anywhere. Like a lot of people didn't even know that Extreme Championship Wrestling got. Yeah, so I got Sabu, Rob Van Dam.
Did they have Just Incredible?
What?
Did they have
Just Incredible? I had Just Incredible.
Awesome.
Lance Storm.
Rhino?
Yeah, Rhino.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I had guys that nobody.
Taz?
Yeah.
Did they have
yeah,
Taz?
I think I don't know if they had to have had a Taz. I don't think I got a Taz.
I mean, a lot of the times, like I didn't even know who these wrestlers were.
Yeah.
I knew eventually about them because of the toys, because he had the toys. Like Sabu, I've never seen that guy wrestle in my life.
But he had an identity in your play.
Yeah, like he was that one toy with the green pants.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Rob Van Dam was another one that it was just like, oh, this is the guy from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I thought he was Jean-Claude Van Damme for the longest time. I thought it was the same person. And then I see it, and then I actually like saw him wrestle, and I'm like, oh, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome. Rob Van Dam. Wait, we're going to stop right now. Rob Van Dam is awesome.
Yeah.
I am super happy whenever he's on some sort of footage on YouTube and stuff like that. I can show the boys. My boys love Rob Van Dam because they somehow inherited an action figure. They may have gotten it at a garage sale and whatnot, but they played with that Rob Van Dam toy so
and it's a
much.
Cool figure. His tights are cool.
Super cool. Super design, super pops and stuff like that. And then they've got to see him do the frog splash and other cool moves, and that is just awesome.
He's had a couple of matches in AEW actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
super
and he
cool.
can still go. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's been good. But yeah, so the ECW line was the last thing I bought at KB Toys before it all went away, and that was the end of that era. What other like new challenges or obstacles do you see like collecting nowadays?
You get into the space thing, right? How much action figures can you have and still have a display before it becomes messy or it's too expensive and whatnot. My boys and I, we do Cub Scouting and then Boy Scouting. And part of the scouting is being thrifty. So definitely trying to push the garage sales or the conventions where you can do some backdoor dealing and stuff like that versus paying full market retail for these action figures. That will definitely leave a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people on YouTube who will do toy reviews and stuff like that, and they're buying these things off the shelves. You can just easily do the math in your head that these guys are spending, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand easily just to review action figures for their channel. And I get if that's their hobby, that's fine, but that's a little too expensive for me to do. And definitely I don't want to pass down such an expensive hobby to the boys.
Yeah. Do you find it now that there's a market, like you said, there's toy reviews, they catalog these, like there always used to be the magazines, we used to look up the prices and everything. But I think there's a lot more, I don't know, cognizance or more people are cognizant of the value that supposedly these figures have. Do you think it's more difficult nowadays to get a good deal because like everything pretty much has like a set value?
Yes and no, right? You can always still find the deals in secondhand shops that maybe just buy in bulk or whatever, and they just want to get rid of the stuff for $5 a pop and then make their return on investment a little faster. My son Hector does a really good job of keeping track of his quote unquote value of the figures and whatnot. And I say quote unquote because really, unless somebody's going to give you the money for it and get the money in your hand, it's just a kind of a placeholder, right? $50 for this action figure is not $50 until you get the $50 in your hand. But
that says a lot about not just figure collecting, but a lot of
I
things,
think,
of our
right?
society.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. The perceived value.
They'll be
I think.
fine when it's time to go buy a car.
Yeah.
They'll be good.
Yeah, they'll know how to negotiate,
Yep.
how to smell a deal, how to smell being kind of suckered into a deal
Yep.
that doesn't go for you. And stuff
The
like that.
what is it? The thrill. I'm sorry. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Yeah.
You learn from those losses just as much.
But the hobby in general is really good. Like I said, the boys have comics too, and they have DVDs and whatnot. Those are usually just stored in closets or behind drawers, just because it's a comic book. It's a floppy thing. You can't really display it and whatnot. And even now, Hector has his comics displayed behind the action figures. I have a little bit of them displayed, but it's just not the same. It's nice to have the figure itself, in whatever pose you want. Just walk by and be like, oh, there's my Spider-Man or there's my Wolverine or whatever, and just really, kind of get some sort of like visual aid out of it and be like, oh, that's super cool. This is why I like collecting and why I like the character and get that nostalgia feeling just from looking at these.
Yeah. I know sometimes you'll message me and you'll show me, like you showed me the comics that you've displayed, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't have enough space. Like, which one do I swap? And I'm like,
Right.
and now I'm stressing out about it. I'm like, I got to give him a good answer because this guy knows his stuff.
I had swapped out one issue and I put up the Teen Titans #1.
Yeah.
Just because I love Robin running at us with the classic Robin costume. I love that.
Yeah.
Love her.
So you mentioned how important it is to see like your heroes come to life in a sense, put them on display, like connect with these characters and these stories in a different way. And I'm glad we got to look a little bit at the past and kind of talk about what collecting is now. But what I want to do now is just wrap up so that we can go on to next week's episode and
Okay.
we can dive a little deeper into what some of these specific franchises and in toy collecting or the toy biz might be, and also continue to explore really what the meaning behind all amassing these trophies of plastic and why it is that we're drawn to it and why someone might get involved with this market. So with that thought in mind, we'll take off for now and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.